So Mark, how does it feel to be playing Frank D'Amico? What type of character is he?
He is a New York gangster, mafia boss, very wealthy, very dodgy, lives in an amazing penthouse apartment way above the city, has 100 guys working for him, is a dealer and a scumbag. But I think what's happened, he's earned so much money and he's got to such a place in his life where he's on top of everything. He's got finest suits, his wife's dressed well, everything's going really well. And he's a classic New York gangster made good. And then he finds himself during the course of the film suddenly realizing that these superheroes, these teenage wannabe superheroes, seem to be bringing his empire to the ground. You know, they're through some, by hook or by crook, this strange kind of group of people are ruining his business. He has a son who understands that world much better than he does. And there is a point in the movie where they work together to try and solve this problem because his son really wants to be a part of his business and he doesn't really want him to be a part of his business. But they're brought together, and it's interesting the relationship between the two of them, how they're brought together in order to kind of cope with a world that Frank doesn't understand but that his son does.
It's maybe a strange kind of Don Corleone, Michael Corleone dynamic going on there, in a way, but with capes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not dissimilar.
Yeah.
There's a certain kind of desire on behalf of Frank that he doesn't want his son involved, and his son really wants to get involved. He doesn't think his son is suitable. His son eminently feels that he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, for some strange kind of reason, they find the need to have to work together to solve this problem.
What was the appeal of this movie for you? Was it simply Matthew's involvement, or was it the fact that this material is really out there? I mean, it's great.
It's a number of things. I
Yeah.
mean, certainly having done Stardust with Matthew,
Yeah.
and you know, you work with somebody from the moment that they say they're interested, through the script, through the filming process, through the making of the film, to the premiere, and then you see the thing out there and see people's reactions. You know, I've got to know Matthew very well over that process, and I think he's terrific at what he does, you know. So the idea was making another movie. I was already interested. Very lucky to find that there was a part for me in it, you know, this Italian-American, and he was very keen for me to do it, and it wasn't difficult to say that I wanted to, because working with him is fun, but also the script is extraordinary. I mean, I've never quite read anything like it. You know, I know there are many films being made from comics these days, but you know, having read the first 4 episodes, I think there are only 4 out to date as we speak. They are the most, you know, as a 45-year-old man, it's like it's a young man's game, the world of the comics. And I remember saying to Chris Mintz-Plasse, who's 19, who you know, plays my son, I said, they're pretty violent, these comics, right? He went, yeah, cool. And I realised that there's a whole world out there for this stuff. Having said that, I think they're incredibly well drawn, and the stories are extraordinary. But there seems to be something about violence, a level of violence, which these days is almost like unconnected to the real world. It's so out there that it's not actually connected to the real world. So I love the fact that it was based on this comic. Also, not just based on it, but actually pretty much running as it's being written in the comic. I mean, they're being
so unusual.
Yeah, I mean, Wanted. Mark Miller wrote Wanted. The film of Wanted is based on the comic, but I think it's more adapted from the comic. Whereas this seems to me, the storyline that's running in the comics as they come out is exactly the storyline that you're getting in the movie.
This is another villain. Are you getting a little sick? Do you want to be the good guy? I know you're kind of good guy in Body of Lies, but
No, I don't, because actually what I'm discovering is, like, it's easy to lump the characters I've played recently as bad guys, but Archie in Rock and Roller is actually a very honourable guy. He's kind of trustworthy and you like him at the end. Same with Hani in Body of Lies. You know, you'd imagine that he is the bad guy, but actually turns out to be the good guy, probably one of the most trustworthy guys in the whole film.
absolutely.
Frank, I'm trying to find just an element of understanding from an audience that he is who he is. He comes from where he comes from and he knows what he knows. So what he's doing is really just trying to provide for everybody. He's trying to have a relationship with his son. He loves his son. He wants to protect his son from all of this. But of course, over the course of the film, they become involved. But in a weird way, it's a kind of a perverse, loving relationship because they're bonding over something so horrific as, you know, mayhem and murder. So yeah, he's a badass, as they say, but not necessarily a bad guy, I don't think. And in Sherlock, same thing. You know, I'm playing this character, Lord Blackwood, who dabbles in the occult and stuff. Actually, no, he's just evil.